Right guys, welcome to this afternoon's intermediate live lesson. Okay, we've got simultaneous equations this afternoon. Okay, not a difficult topic at all, but it's one of the more challenging ones that you will have on intermediate. Okay, when you're ready, make a start on the starter. Again, the starters we use for the intermediate lessons are really relevant. Okay, so it's important you get these topics absolutely nailed. I think altogether on this page it's probably worth 30 marks, okay? So if you get these topics nailed in your head, you will do really well at intermediate, okay? Or those doing higher, lots of these questions do overlap into higher and foundation as well. Right guys, so have a go. Simultaneous equations is this green question at the bottom, so if you get that right, you should be on to a good start for today. I'll give you 5 minutes for this, guys. Two more minutes, guys. Get as much of that done as you possibly can. Right, guys, finish off the question you're on for me, please. Right then, so going to go through each of these, okay guys, again, same structure as normal. Okay. First one, 2 points, okay? It's worth getting solving equations learned in your head, especially if you're going on to more difficult topics. This is one of the fundamentals, okay? So for this one, 5x take away 6 equals 44. I'm going to add 6 to both sides first. If I add 6 on the left, 5x moves straight down because that hasn't been used. Minus 6 plus 6 makes nothing. 44 plus 6 is 50. Okay, once you're there, I'm going to divide by 5. I end it with x on its own equals 10. So x equals 10 for 2 points. Next one. 0.6 times 0.7. Do it. Imagine the decimal points aren't there. So 6 times 7 is 42. That's an easy one. Then in my question, I've got 2 numbers after the decimal point. So I've got to come back 1, 2, put a decimal point in by there. Okay, if it's a decimal point, there's got to be a 0 before it. 0.42. 1 point. Next one. Okay, find x. Okay, I've found my calculator today, which is great news. So this is just trigonometry. Okay, it is worth 3 points. It is a difficult topic, but it's one that it kind of repeats itself every time. The only thing you've got to get nailed is this first step, where you pick whether you're using sin, cos, or tan. Now, first step, always the same. I'll label my hypotenuse, my opposite side, and my adjacent side. Those are my 3 sides that I label. I write down SOHCAHTOA. Okay, I cross off the 1. I need to cross off the 1 now that I'm going to not need. Okay, if you look at this diagram, I'm going to need my opposite because that's 5. I'm going to need my hypotenuse, that's x. I don't need adjacent because it hasn't got anything labelled on it. So I'm going to cross off adjacent by there. I'm also going to cross off the a's over here as well. I'm going to be using so. So I'm going to be using a triangle that looks like this. Sin in the bottom left, O on top, H in the bottom right. And as you can see, it looks like so as well. S-O-H, S-O-H. Once you're there now, I need to find my hypotenuse, so I'm going to be writing H equals. If I go to my triangle and I cover the bit I want H, so I'm going to cover that. If you look at everything that's not covered, I've got O divided by S. So my working out is O, which is 5, divided by sin 67. Okay, I put all that in my calculator. 5 divided by sin 67. Make sure you close the bracket. I get an answer of 5.43. Oh, not 44. 43 centimeters for my x side. Okay, and that's all trigonometry is. And it won't change it. It'll change a little bit every single time. The only difference is you might be using cos or tan. That's the only difference. And it's the same steps constantly. So it's really worth learning and getting nailed. That's worth 3 points. Again, guys, if you miss it, if anything is going a little bit too fast for you and you need to copy it down, wait until the end. This video is going up live, okay? It'll be there permanently. So, x squared plus 5x plus 6. I've got to factorize this and then solve it first. I've got to factorize it first and then solve it afterwards. So I'm going to factorize this into 2 brackets, 2 double brackets. I've got to find 2 numbers. They're going to multiply to make positive 6, and they've got to add to make positive 5. Okay, 2 numbers that multiply to make positive 6 and add to make positive 5 are 2 and 3. Because 2 times 3 makes 6, 2 plus 3 is 5. Now, for these 2 brackets to times together to make 0, one of the brackets has to equal 0. For the left-hand bracket to equal 0, that x value would have to be minus 2. And for the right-hand bracket to equal 0, that x value would have to be minus 3. So those are the 2 possible x values that could be used in this to make this cancel out to equal 0. And that's your final answer. That is worth 3 points, guys. Right, guys, so 3x cubed times 12x to the power of 7. Okay, the important bit for this is when you've got your x's and you're timesing together 2 letters with indices, you add the powers together. So x to the power of 3 and x to the power of 7, that's going to be x to the power of 10. Then 3 times 12 is just 36. So my answer is 36x to the power of 10. The front numbers you multiply normally, you add the powers together. 2 points. 6.5 take away 2.95. Okay, any gaps, always fill them in with a 0. 0 take away 5, I can't do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to borrow, turn that into a 4, turn that into a 10. 10 take away 5 is 5. 4 take away 9, I can't do that either. So I'm going to borrow again. 14 take away 9 is 5 as well. 5 take away 2 just gives me 3. So my answer is 3.55 for 1 point. %35% of 630. Okay, very, very straightforward. Remember, what we always do first, we always find 10%. So 10% of 630 is 63. 30% then would have to be 3 times that amount, because 3 times 10% is 30. 3 times 63 is 189. Then 5% is the bit we want on the end. If I want 5%, I just got a half 10%. Half of 63 is 31.5. Then what I'm going to do to find out my total amount, I'm going to add those two together. 30 plus 5% is 35%. Then 189 plus 31.5 gives me 220.5 as a final answer. That's 35%. That's worth 1 point. Bit of simultaneous equations. Again, I'm going to go through this in detail today, so don't worry if you don't quite understand this, okay? I've got to make the y's the same. Okay, at the moment they're different, so I'm going to times them both by different numbers to make them exactly the same number. I'm going to turn them both into a 6, so I'm going to times the top by 3, and I'm going to times the bottom by 2. Remember to times every single thing on the top by 3. If I times the 3 by 3, I end up with 9x, plus 6y, plus 21. Then I times the bottom by 2, I end up with 10x, take away 6y, 37 times 2 is 74. Once I'm there now, I'm going to call that equation 1, I'm going to call that equation 2. I'm going to add them together, because what will happen is if I add them together, the plus 6y and the minus 6y will just cancel out. So 9 plus 10 is 19. That cancels out. 21 plus 74 is 95. Now, what you'll normally find is that this will go into that a certain amount of times. If I divide through by 19, you'll find 19 goes into 95 5 times. So my x value is 5. Once you've done that and you found x, you're halfway through the question. Now, I'm going to go over here. There's a little bit of space. Okay, I want to substitute this x is 5 into one of these so I can find out what y is. I'm going to pick the top one. Instead of 3x, I'm going to write 3 times 5. 3 times 5 plus 2y equals 7. 3 times 5 is 15, so 15 plus 2y equals 7. I'm going to take away 15 from both sides. 2y equals minus 8. If 2y is minus 8, I'm going to divide by 2. Y equals minus 4. Final answer. Okay. Not quite a difficult topic because there's lots of steps. I guarantee by the end of the day you'll have that mastered. Remember, anything you want to copy down, wait until the end because this is going to go up as a post, okay? So just you can skip to the bit you want. 2, 6, 10, 14, 18, nth term. Okay, look at your jumps first. This is going up in 4 each time. It's going up in 4 each time. That 4 has to go in front of the n, so it's going to be 4n. And then whatever comes before the first number goes on the end. If it's going up in 4s, before a 2, it's going to be negative 2, because it's going up in 4s before the first number. If I take away 4, we minus 2. 4n take away 2 for 2 points. Right, guys, add those up. If you're at the stage now when you're getting 18 out of 18 on those topics, you've got intermediate absolutely nailed. Okay, if you aren't yet, which is what I'd expect, if you're being honest, okay, if you're having an honest go, you won't be quite there yet, and that's okay, okay? But if you are there, you've got intermediate absolutely nailed, and I'm really proud of you. Right then, so, simultaneous equations. So let's start with the basic ones first. Basic ones look like this. Now, what I want you to remember is, really, really important, okay? If the signs are the same, so if the signs are the same, you've got to make sure you take away. If the signs are different, you've got to add. Okay, so I want you to remember this. It's called das. Okay, different, add, same, subtract. Okay, I haven't written that very well in the corner, but I want to remember that. So if the signs are different, you're going to add. If the signs are the same, you're going to subtract. So here they're the same, so I'm going to take away. Why I'm going to take away? Because I want to get one letter left. Okay, at the moment, because there's two letters, there's an X and a Y, and we're not used to that, it's impossible to find out what they are. Okay, all you can do is guess, but there is a way to find out which one is which. Okay, the way to do that is to get rid of them. I suggest always get rid of your Y's. Okay, so I'm going to take away, and I'm going to take away using column subtraction. So 5x take away 2x is just 3x. Okay, 2y take away 2y leaves me nothing. 9 take away 6 is 3. Now you can see now this is forming a very, very straightforward solving equations. 3x is 3. If I divide by 3, x has to be 1. Now I know x is 1, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute x is 1 into one of the top equations. I'm going to sub x equals 1 into, I'm going to go for equation 1. I usually go for equation 1 just because it means you're doing the same steps every single time. So I'm going to substitute that x is this into equation 1. I got 5x, so 5 times 1, plus 2y equals 9. Okay, so I've done exactly the same steps as before. I'm substituting this x is 1 into the first one. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2y equals 9. I'm going to take away 5 from both sides, so I end up with 2y equals 4. If 2y equals 4, I divide by 2, and y gives me 2. Y equals 2. Okay, down the bottom. Right, so I've used a lot of the screen, okay? Apologies for that. I would get that written down, that example. Once that example is written down, have a go at this one over here. Remember this last thing, different, add, same, subtract. Okay, so if they're different, you got to add. If they're the same, you got to subtract. Okay, have a go at this, following the same steps. If it takes you a little bit longer, that's okay. See how far you can get. Even if you can get to find where x is, if you can get to this step right here on there, that's really successful, okay? And you will get better as we go through. Okay, follow the same steps every single time. I'm going to leave that on there. I'll give you a minute to see if you can get that copied down and get that one done. Right guys, finish off what you're doing. Right then, so I'm going to go through the basic steps on this one. So again, you're going to label the first one 1 and the second one 2. Once you've done that, because they're different, add, same, subtract. Because they're different, I'm going to add them together. 4x plus 2x is 6x. 3 plus minus 3 makes nothing. 34 plus 8 is 42. Okay, if 6x is 42, if I divide by 6, I end up with an x equals 7. Okay, now that I know x equals 7, I'm going to substitute x equals 7. So sub x equals 7 into, I'm going to do equation 1 again. Okay, so I got 4 times x, so 4 times 7, plus 3y equals 34. Again, I'm going to do 4 times 7, which is 28, plus 3y equals 34. If I take away 28 from both sides, I end up with 3y equals 6. Now 3y equals 6, that means y has to be 2. Okay, and those are the steps you follow each time. Very, very straightforward. Remember, there's lots of steps. They are very straightforward ones, though, okay? So it's not that difficult topic. You just got to make sure you get those steps nailed in your head. Right, guys, mark what have you done so far. What I'd like you to do, okay, if you really think this is quite a difficult topic, I understand. If you think you're on it, though, and you're kind of understanding, have a go at these, please. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have a go at, I'm going to help you in a little bit down this side, okay? I'm going to help you with question 1. Okay, in a little bit, I'm going to start you off, those that are struggling. I'm going to give you 4 minutes to get as much done as you can. If you really get this, just crack on. If you don't, I'm going to use this space bar here just to help you on question 1. Right, guys, so just to those that are still, you crack on, everyone else. Those that are struggling with it, okay, I'm just going to go through question 1 in the top right hand corner. Everyone else just ignore what I'm saying. Okay, I've got 3x plus 2y equals 12, not written very well, but I'm using my finger, and 2x plus 2y equals 10. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take those away from each other. So if I take away, I end up with 3x take away 2x is x, 12 take away 10 is 2. So I end up with x equals 2 straight away with no further lines of working. Now that I know x is 2, I can substitute that back into the top. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2y equals 12. 6 plus 2y equals 12. If I take away 6 from this side, I end up with 2y equals 6. And then if I divide by 2, y gives me 3. So question 1, quite straightforward again. Hopefully you kind of have a bit of a better idea now. Okay, I'll give you 2 more minutes to get this page done. Okay, if you get it all done, that's amazing. I'd like to get on to some harder ones, and then maybe, hopefully by the end, get on to some GCSE questions. Alright guys, so finish off whatever one you're on. And then what I'd like you to do is mark the ones that you've done so far. based on the answers in front of you. I'll zoom right in so you can see all of it. Hopefully those were quite straightforward. Again, I want to get us onto the difficulty of the one on the starter by the end of the session. Right, so that's job done. Right guys, so some more difficult examples now. With these ones, you've got to scale up. And what that means is essentially, one of the equations, the y's aren't the same. Okay, and we want the y's to be the same. Now I'm going to take this right hand side one. I'm going to make the y's on the bottom the same as on the top. Now one of them is 5 and one of them is just a 1y. Okay, my advice is to leave the top as it is. I'm just going to times the bottom one by 5. What that'll mean is they both got 5y and we can work it out. So the top one I'm going to leave it as it is. I got 6x plus 5y equals 57. Bottom one I'm going to times that by 5. I end up with 15x plus 5y equals 24 times 5 is 120. Once I'm there, I'm going to take them away from each other. Now you've got to imagine the big numbers are on top for this, because I've got a 15 on the bottom and a 6 on the top, and a 120 on the bottom and a 57 on the top. Imagine the big numbers are on top. 15 take away 6 is 9x. 5 take away 5 is nothing. 120 take away 57 is 63. Okay, 9x is 63. If I divide through by 9, x would have to be 7. Halfway through the question. Again, once you're here now, the important bit is to make sure you get the next step nailed. Okay, I'm going to substitute x back in. I'm going to put it in whichever one you want to. I'm going to always go for the top one usually because it's the easiest one. 6x is there. I know x is 7. 6 times 7 is 42. So I've got 42 plus 5y equals 57. Now I've got very basic solving equations to do, exactly like the first question in the starter. If I take away 42 from both sides, I end up with 5y. 57 take away 42 is 15. 5y equals 15. That means y would have to be 3. Okay, very straightforward, guys. Okay, you should have that nailed. If you have, that's great. Have a go at the right hand one. Remember, on these ones you only have to scale up one of them, because the top one is already a 3. My advice would just be scale at the bottom. Get that left-hand example down for me, okay? It's really important. The examples are your key to helping you when there's no teachers around, okay? Get your examples down and nailed. Okay, it's 30 more seconds on this, then I'm going to go through it. Right then, so, okay, I want to scale the bottom one up. Again, I want to make them both into a 3. So the top one's going to stay as 2x plus 3y equals 13. The bottom one, I'm going to times all that by 3. I end up with 12x, take away 3y equals 50. Now, remember, difference is add, same as subtract. Okay, they're different, so I can add them together. If I add them together, I get 14x equals 28. If 14x is 28, x has to be 2. If you divide through by 14. Once you know x is 2, the rest of the question becomes quite straightforward. Okay, I'm going to sub x is 2 into the top. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 3y equals 13. Take away 4, you end up with 3y equals 9. And then y has to be 3 if you divide through by 3. Okay, very straightforward. Hopefully you've got those nailed in your head. Okay, mark whatever you've done. If you need to change your name, please do. If you've got those nailed, we're nearly there. Okay, right, one more set of examples, and then I'd like to get on to some GCSE work. Right, so this is as difficult as they can possibly make them, okay? This is as hard as it gets. Now, what you're likely to have is one negative answer and one positive answer. We might not get that in this case, but this is as hard as they get. Now, what you've got by here is you have to scale up both. Okay, now you've got to make the 3B and the 4B. I always aim for this right-hand letter. You've got to make them the same thing. Now, 3 and 4 times tables meet at 12, so I'm going to make them both into 12. Okay, in order to do that, I'm going to times the top one, I'm going to times that all by 4, and I'm going to times the bottom one all by 3. Now, this is the bit that people mess up. The reason they mess it up is because they forget to times one of the individual bits. Okay, make sure you times everything on the top by 4, everything on the bottom by 3. 3a times 4 is 12a. 3b times 4 is 12b. 21 times 4 is 84. I'm going to call that equation 1. Same thing on the bottom, times it all by 3, I end up with 18a. Take away 12b is all equal to 66. Now this is what you're aiming for. You want to get them like this. Once they're like this, because the signs are different, I'm going to add them together. 12 plus 18 is 30. 84 plus 66 is 150. Okay, if I divide through by 30, a gives me 5. I'm halfway there now. Okay, this is the important bit. Once you're halfway, the rest is easy and it's all downhill. A is 5, so I'm going to put that back into the top one. 3 times a. 3 times 5 is 15. So 3 times a is 15. Plus 3b equals 21. Take away 15, 3b equals 6. If you divide by 3, b equals 2. Okay, not very neatly written at the bottom, but you'll have to bear with me, it's my finger. That is as hard as they get. Sometimes you get a negative answer on one of the letters. Okay, that's fine too. Okay, but that's the only thing that can make it more difficult, or you'll end up with a decimal. Okay, get that example written down in your book, on your paper in front of you. Have a go at the one on the right hand side, please. I'll give you 1 minute to get that one done. Then we're going to do some GCSE ones to finish. "30 seconds. Right then, so I'm going to go through this real quick. If you didn't have time to finish, don't worry. Okay, I'm still going to go through it. Right, I want to make these two into these f's into the same thing. I'm going to times them, trying to make them into a 14. So I'm going to times the top by 7, and I'm going to times the bottom by 2. Okay, all of this times 7. 7 times 6e is 42e. 7 times 2f is 14f. 7 times 4 is negative 28. That's equation 1. Then on the bottom, times it by 2, I end up with 16e plus 14f. Okay, 12 times 2 is 24. Okay, now I'm going to take them away from each other. If you take them away, you should end up with 42 take away 16 gives me 26. E. Okay, 14f take away 14f is nothing. Minus 28 take away another 24 is negative 52. If I divide through by 26, E ends up as minus 2. And this is what I was saying in the question over there. You can get it sometimes that they give you a negative answer, and that's okay. It doesn't matter. If E is minus 2, I'm going to put E back into the top one. Okay, 6 lots of minus 2 is negative 12. So the top one has got negative 12 plus 2f equals minus 4. Again, follow your rules of solving equations and it'll be okay. Add on 12 to both sides. 2f equals positive 8. Divide by 2. F equals 4. Okay, following the same rules every single time of solving equations. Okay, it does look difficult and there's lots of steps. Just make sure you get each simple step nailed and it'll be fine. Right guys, mark those. Again, if you want to get anything copied down and you haven't got time, wait until the end, it'll go up on my page. Right then, so instead of doing those, I'm going to have a go at some proper GCSE ones now. This is a proper GCSE question. This is as difficult as they get, okay? What I'd like you to do is have a go at that for me, please. And let me know you do. Okay, I'm going to give you 1 minute just to make a start. Okay, if you don't know what to do, maybe just write the question down and wait for me. In a minute's time, I'm going to go through that one. Okay, have a go. Right then guys, so I'm going to go through this now. Again, if you haven't had time to finish, don't worry. But if you have had time to finish and you're going to check your answer, if you're right, you really understand this topic and that's brilliant. Right then, so I'm going to make the 4 and the 3 into the same number. So I'm going to times the top, I'm going to times it by 3. And the bottom one, I'm going to times it by 4. I'm going to make them both into a 12. If I times the top by 3, I end up with 9x plus 12y equals 21. That's my equation 1. And the bottom one, I times it by 4, I end up with 8x minus 12y equals 64. That's my equation 2. Now, in order to get rid of these, remember the difference, so I'm going to add them together, I get 17x equals 85. Now, before I even do this bit, I know that 17 is going to be in 85 is going to be in a 17 times table. If I divide through by 17, I end up with x equals 17 goes into 85 5 times. Okay, it would take you writing that on the side though to work that out. Okay, x equals 5. Once I know x is 5, I'm going to put it in the top one. 3 times 5, so I'm going to substitute it back into there. Instead of doing 3x, I do 3 times 5, so 15 plus 4y equals 7. Take away 15 from both sides, you end up with 4y equals negative 8. 4y is negative 8 divided by 4, y equals minus 2. That's 4 marks. Again, if you got that absolutely nailed, it's on higher tier and intermediate, you really, really understand this, and I'm really proud of you, okay? If you got some of it right, that's brilliant, okay? It just means you're going to be working on it going forward. Right, guys, so this last one is one I'm going to go through as an example, most probably, Okay, I'm going to go through this as an example. If you want to do it as a question, maybe sign off now, okay, and maybe pause the video when we go through the when I upload it later on. Pause it and have a go yourself. Okay, right. So each side of a square is of length 2x plus 3y, and the perimeter of the square is 62 centimeters. Okay, each side of a regular octagon has x plus 2y in centimeters, and the perimeter of the octagon is 72 centimeters. So this is simultaneous equations, but it's in context. Okay, so the perimeter of the square is 62, so that's going to be equal to 62. Then it says that each side of this square is 2x plus 3y. That'll mean there's a 2x plus 3y there, and there. That means altogether there's 8 x's, and there is 16 y's. 3 plus 3 plus, no, 12 y's, sorry, 12 y's. There's 12 y's because 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So 8 x's plus 12 y's is 62. Then each side of a regular octagon on the bottom is 72. X plus 2y, so there's 8 x's on the bottom. And there's also 8 lots of 2y's, which is 16y. Okay, so what you've got is simultaneous equations. That's going to be equation 1. That's going to be equation 2. I'm going to write them on top of each other on the bottom. 8x plus 12y equals 62. And 8x plus 16y equals 72. Okay, that's the first bit done. Once you've got that nailed, and you've got that in front of you, okay, we can find out what x and y are. And my advice, normally we try and get the 8 y's the same, and that's a good way to go about it. However, we don't have to on this one. The x's match up. Okay, it doesn't happen very often, but the x's match up on this one. What I'm going to do instead, I'm just going to take them away as they are, because the 8x and 8x will cancel each other out. 16, take away 12. Remember the big numbers are on the bottom. Remember the bottom numbers. Try and remember they're on the top if they're big. 4y equals 10. And then 10 divided by 4 gives you y is 2.5. Now you know y is 2.5, so I'm just going to substitute that back in to find out what x is. Y is 2.5. I'm going to pick the top one. So 8x plus 12y, 12 lots of 2.5. 12y is 30 equals 62. So 8x plus 30 equals 62. I'm going to take away 30 from both sides. Take away 30. 8x equals 32. If 8x is 32, x, if I divide by 8, would have to be 4 centimeters. So y is 2.5 centimeters, x is 4 centimeters. That is an 8-mark question. It says 5, but there are 7-mark questions, sorry, on higher tier and intermediate. Okay, huge question. Okay, worth loads of marks. Okay, worth getting that learned. Guys, well done if you tuned in for today. I'm really proud of all of you. Remember, these videos are going to be coming twice a day, every day, for the foreseeable future.